Let's take a look at Saturday. There are 8 games on. It's the second last day of the week. We need to figure out how to approach the day to win our matchups. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd because I take no L's. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New FanDuel customers can bet $5 or win their first $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets. Also, make sure you're checking out LockedOnDaily.com and sign up for the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team at LockedOnDaily.com. Double bang over here. Leave your comments, thumb, all that sort of stuff. By the way, I take L's all the time, so I guess that intro is a little bit not right. There's plenty of L's. And that's what we will do at the end of this season, is look at all the W's, look at all the L's, describe why we got the W's right, why we hit the L's, where we go, how we refine our process, all that strategy stuff. And then we get team reviews, free agency, draft, all that sort of stuff. So much stuff is going to be coming. And we'll probably try and chuck some fun-ish, not that I think that some of these episodes aren't fun. I think some of the stuff we do is fun. That's why we try and joke around a bit. But some shows that aren't just pure fantasy stuff. We'll see what we do with that. Got some ideas cooking up. Yeah, things like redrafts, but also some contest stuff, quiz stuff, that sort of thing we'll probably run through. We'll see. Speaking of run through, I don't know what that means, but let's talk about the schedule. Let's talk about what we're looking at across these next couple of days, or heading into this next day. We've got 3 teams heading into Saturday on a back-to-back, and some of them are very important. It's Charlotte, it's Miami, and Toronto. Now, Miami's important because of illnesses/absences for Herro and Wiggins and Kelly Ware. We just don't know if they're going to be available, but Charlotte and Toronto are tanking their asses off. So who's going to sit? Is it only LaMelo and Mark Williams? We already know that Mark Williams is out on Friday. We're assuming LaMelo's out on Saturday. What about the Raptors? They've already sat Pirtle and Barrett on Friday, and they've got this run of like 6 games against the worst teams imaginable to man. So are they just going to be doing this on and off? Does that mean, and we're going to get a great indication of this on Saturday, are they going to just be putting Barrett, quickly, Pirtle, Barnes, and like just sort of back-to-backing them? With Pirtle, Barrett out Friday, is it Barnes and quickly out Saturday? That's how I'm projecting it, but I don't know. And even if it's not a back-to-back, do we get these guys out during the week against all these trash teams as well? I guess that is something we don't know. We can presume, we can predict, we can project. Sounds like a motto for Survivor, but fantasy Survivor. But we don't know, so we've got to figure it out. The back-to-backs on Saturday, Sunday, it's less of an issue. There's one team that we need to be, and I've just realized that I didn't change the days up there. So the back-to-back is not Friday to Saturday. It's Saturday to Sunday for this one. It's the Pistons. I'm always just going to be marginally like watching, will Cade need a rest day? I think he's fine, but I just watch that. The Bucks, and it's Giannis and Dame, where, hey, do they get a rest day at any point? Because we know that they're old and they've had many soft tissue injuries. And the other one's the Pelicans, and we know there are going to be guys sat down. And last time they had a back-to-back, much like Toronto, there were 4 guys. Zion, Olynyk, Brown, and McCollum. Now, all we have to go on with the Pelicans is what they did last time. The first game of the back-to-back, they sat Olynyk and Bruce Brown. The second game of the back-to-back, they sat Zion and CJ, and in their place, Bruce Brown and Olynyk were starting. And in Olynyk's place, last game in Brown, who's a bench guy, but in Olynyk's place last time, it was Makovich who started. So again, my projections are reflecting that. But I've got no idea. I don't know whether it'll be Olynyk and Brown out on Saturday and Zion and CJ out on Saturday. Do they mix and match those guys again? I don't know. All I know is what happened last time. All I know is that those 4 players are at risk of resting, and we've got to see how it plays out. That's one of the things that's going to happen. Let's get chunky. We've got the next 5 days. Who plays 3 games on low volume days? Well, there are a few of them. because Monday's a 12-game day, so we're ignoring that. But we can see that Chris Dunn and the Clippers is a pretty good stream. The Pelicans have 3 games on low-volume days across the next 5 nights between Saturday and Wednesday. So Jose Alvarado, Yves Misi, Carlo Matkovic are in that mix. The artist formerly known as Torian Prince has 3 games across the next 5 days. Isaiah Stewart has 3 games against the next 5 days. So you can see we're talking Clippers, we're talking Pelicans, we're talking Bucks, we're talking Pistons. And all of those teams have the weekend back-to-back except the Clippers. And the Clippers are the only team in the NBA with a Tuesday-Wednesday back-to-back next week. So again, pay attention to that. I want to talk about Mavericks injury updates in a second. I'll get to that in a bit. But this is another injury thing that's important to us, and it's the 5s and 2s, which we haven't had to do for a while. Because unfortunately, in the 5s and 2s, which is when we look at a 7-day, a week, but not starting on a Monday, period, we look at who's got a 5-game week and a 2-game week. Unfortunately, starting on Saturday, the hottest pickup in the NBA is going to be the replacement for Jalen Brunson, Deuce McBride, and guess what? Starting Saturday, they play 2 games. And one of those games is on Monday. So while we do expect that Jalen Brunson is going to be missing multiple weeks, I will also say this about Jalen Brunson. This might be inflammatory. Jalen Brunson is incredibly tough. Most NBA players, to be fair, are incredibly tough. Most of them are. Very, very vast majority are. 99.5%. Jalen Brunson is incredibly tough. I know this, right? But if you're going to come and say that Jalen Brunson's so tough, he'll be back in a week from this injury, even though we'll keep others out here because he wants to play. If he gets ruled out for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, that means you have to say that he's soft. That has to be the rules. Because if you're telling me that he's going to play in a week because of how tough he is, if they rule him out for 5 weeks, that must mean he's soft. That can be the only explanation. It can't be that the injury is serious. It has to be the soft, because that's the standard that it gets applied to others, yeah? We got that part of it right. But anyway, back to this stuff. Yeah, Deuce McBride's an ad, and I expect that Brunson is out for multiple weeks. But honestly, if I thought that Jalen Brunson was out for a week, I wouldn't even bother. You would not even bother adding Deuce McBride, because you'd play him once. You'd play him once on Wednesday, most likely. You might play him on Monday with 12 games. You'd play him once in the next week, and that's completely useless. There's no value in that at all. So that's where you get into a conundrum, I guess, where you get into a situation where you go, is this worth it? I'd love to get the information about the injury and where they sit, but with no game across the weekend for the Knicks, a Monday game with 12 games on, and then a day on Wednesday, it's pretty rough. But if we're talking out for 4 weeks, Deuce McBride would probably roll top 90-ish, top 80-ish, and it would be worth it. But it's going to be incredibly lean early on. So there is a risk in it. Now, I added McBride wherever I could. And I suggest that you do it too. But also you need to be aware of how that plays out, because you'll be sitting there going, what am I doing? I got 1 game out of the dude in the last week, and in the fantasy playoffs, you play a guy once in 7 days, you can be in real trouble. So just, again, it is a no-brainer, sort of. But if you want to turn your brain on for a second, there might be situations where you go, this maybe isn't the right move. Maybe. I will talk just briefly now about the Mavericks and their injury report that they chucked out. It's a bunch of word salad to me. It's still, and a lot of what I've said about the Mavericks and the way they're treating these injuries to the big man is a lot of PR stuff. A recent reevaluation of Anthony Davis, who's missed the last 10 games due to a left adductor straining, indicates Davis is improving daily and is therefore being cleared for more dynamic on-court movements. All right, what does that mean? Mavericks center Derek Lively II, who has missed the last 23 games due to a right ankle stress fracture, is progressing in his rehabilitation after a recent reevaluation. Okay, cool. So dynamic movements and progressing, cool. Going forward, both Lively, who has progressed to individual on-court work, and Davis, who will be evaluated weekly, with relevant updates to their status provided as appropriate. And again, breaking down this stuff it's necessary, unfortunately, because the fact that they put in that little statement, right? That little statement, Mavericks center Derek Lively, who blah, 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 is missed, and then they go, going forward, Lively, who has progressed to individual court work, and then it's comma, and Davis. And you know what that means? That Davis has not progressed to individual court work. That's what that means, right? He's doing dynamic on-court movements, or there's been no real change to... It's all a bunch of word salad. So Lively's doing this, but they'll be evaluated weekly. So what you know now, as we sit here Friday afternoon for you guys, that it's at least one more week. At least one more week for Davis and Lively. And again, I really, really, really doubt they're playing again. The last one is Daniel Gafford, who has missed the last 9 games due to a right knee sprain. By the way, you called it a grade 3 MCL, which is definitely season over. He's showing progress. Oh, good for him. You would hope so. He'll be evaluated again in 2 weeks. So that's at least 2 weeks for Gafford. There are 5 weeks left in the regular season. These guys are just not playing. I don't think they're playing any fantasy relevant games. You're in the middle of playoffs now, maybe. 1 week might be gone. So Gafford's done. Davis and Lively, what are they coming back for? Maybe they come back for that week. By the way, if they get reevaluated in a week from today, the earliest they can return for is a 2-game week. A 2-game week. That is, based on what they've told us here, the earliest these guys can return for is a 2-game week. Which, who cares? If that is your championship week in playoffs, that doesn't matter. That is done, gone, see you later. You don't worry about that. Now again, if your playoffs are in a different situation, you make different calls. But the earliest that Lively and Davis can come back is a 2-game week. Gafford done all the way through that and back the start of the earliest Gafford's back is at 25th of March or something. He's done. Don't worry about it. He is not making a dent, I'm pretty sure. The others, I don't know, because this is deliberately designed to confuse us. And my assessment of this is they'll just keep doing these things and eventually it just sort of drifts away. And you never get the update until you hit April the 1st. They go, yeah, they'll just focus on rehab over the offseason and be ready 100% for preseason. That is my prediction for all of this. But we'll find out. So that's where we're at with that. It's an update that sort of isn't an update, but there are bits to read between it, but also just could be trying to confuse us as best as they can. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball season is heating up, and there is no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's so easy. You can do it in over 30 states. It lets you mix and match projections across different sports as well. It's so easy to set a lineup. You can do it in under 60 seconds as well. You can choose someone's points or assists or rebounds or threes or fantasy points, or I guess you can do goals and assists in hockey as well. Combine all that stuff together. You got baseball starting up soon, home runs and strikeouts, put all that stuff together. And they've got things like Taco Tuesday where you get discounts on select player projections up to 25%, which gives even more value to your lineup. So download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's do a little bit of actual injury statuses that we need to pay attention to for Saturday. By the way, I haven't mentioned this yet. Saturday, early game, 6 p.m. game, Brooklyn-Charlotte, banger. Early game, 6 p.m. Lineups must be set. The good thing about that is that because it is Brooklyn-Charlotte early, we get the update on whether LaMelo Ball is going to play or not. And I just don't think he will. I expect that Mark Williams returns. I don't know if it means something about Josh Green, but LaMelo is actually listed probable on Friday with an illness. There is zero shot he's playing Saturday. Be aware of that. The other things we need to watch are Fred VanVleet, who I think is probably unlikely to play, and that just bumps Eason, it bumps Brooks, it bumps everybody, really, apart from Jalen Green, apparently. We've got to watch the Pelican rests. At the moment, I am projecting Olynyk and Brown out on Saturday, but that could be different. For the Raptors, I am predicting Barnes and Quickly out on Saturday, because they're resting Barrett and Pirtle on Friday. Jordan Poole is upgraded to questionable. It's really convenient. He set out the games against the 2 terrible teams, and he's coming back for harder games now. So I think he might play. We need to check on the Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton, who missed the last game, and then Ben Mathurin, who's missed the last week and a half, and their presence or absence impacts Nesmith, McConnell, Nembhard a lot. Lonzo Ball and Nikola Vucevic, along with Patrick Williams. All of those guys are potentially returning on Saturday, and if they all did return, well, you're Zach Collins, Jalen Smith, Trey Jones, Fanapants Kevin Herter, even you knock a little bit of the top off Josh Giddey and Kobe White. But they are 3 players who realistically could combine for 80 minutes easily in that lineup. I don't know if they all return. No idea, but we need to watch it. Tyler Herro and Andy Wiggins, we need to check their statuses. Wiggins and Ware are out on Friday. I don't think Ware plays Saturday. Wiggins, who knows, it's an ankle sprain that I don't even know that we saw happen. And then Herro is dealing with another illness. By the way, shout out to illnesses. We'll talk about that in a second, but we'll talk about illnesses in a second. We don't know whether those guys are going to play. In Detroit, we need to watch Toby Harris, who's dealing with personal issues, missed the last 2 games. When he is out, Asar bumps to 30. I really want to see Toby back because I want to see whether JB Bickerstaff was talking out of his ass about a minutes restriction on Asar Thompson. I want to see that. So we'll see. If Toby is out, it bumps Asar, it bumps Malik Beasley, it bumps Dennis Schroeder as well. Brandon Pajemski left 44 seconds into the last game with a back issue, and it doesn't appear like John Kuminga is returning. If Pajemski is out, you get a little bit more value to Moses Moody. You theoretically could get value to Buddy Hield, but guess what? I'm not caring. And then we go to Boston, where Jalen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and Drew Holiday were out. Now, Drew's been out for a while with his finger. Not sure about him. Porzingis, remember there was the late Porzingis illness scratch. What are we doing here? Like, there was a back-to-back. Surely you're just going to sit him. Why did you do this? And after the game, Sneaky Joe said, you think he's going to be fine for tomorrow? And he was. And then he's missed 4 games in a row with an illness. What illness is this? The old come-and-goer? What the hell happened? He was sick. He actually wasn't sick. Wink Joe Mazzulla. And he was able to play. And now he's sick again? What the hell is happening? And then Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I'm pretty sure they just were sitting because it was a back-to-back. So I don't have any real worry there about Jaylen, but it's the other ones that we need to pay a little bit more attention to. We're going to get in here to some streaming stuff, starting with Yahoo points, followed by ESPN points, and then we get into category leagues after that. There are quite a few options on Saturday with 8 games on. I'm going to look at Keyshawn George as a pretty interesting stream guy because irrespective of who is in or out, he seems to get his 31 or 32 minutes, which is encouraging. Now, he will have shocking shooting nights, obviously, but he is a solid enough stream option here. I'm going to put Cole Anthony on the list, who, with Jalen Suggs done, he's going to start, and I would say 50 to 60% of the time, he will be the point guard who has better value, maybe even 70. Doesn't mean he'll always be good, and he still only plays like 24 minutes, but I like it. Nick Smith, with the likely absence of LaMelo Ball, he will shoot a lot and miss a lot, but he should shoot enough to get enough fantasy points. I've got Muhammad, the Night Watchman, Gay there as well. He has played 22 minutes in each of the last 2 games, Gay has, and that's better than the 14 minutes we were getting before. Is it enough for most of us to care? Not really. It's more deeper league stuff, but again, 14 teamers, but even as a single game stream in 12s, it's not horrid. Andrew Nembhard is there, whose value would jump to the top of this list if we had heard that Halliburton was out and or Mathurin, and if both are out, he's very clearly at the top. And then this one's a little bit of a dart throw because I don't know. Remember, there was a period where for some God knows what reason they signed Alfred Payton. He's gone, by the way. But if LaMelo Ball is out, KJ Simpson, who he's got the Kai Jones, he's got the scenario, the Brandon Williams, where he can't play every game, and they are saving his games, and I believe they're saving his games for games that LaMelo Ball doesn't play. So I expect that KJ Simpson, if it is true that LaMelo does not play on Saturday, and I believe it is, then I think KJ Simpson will start. He has got 13 games left that he is eligible for to play, and he probably plays 30 minutes in this one, so we are interested in KJ as a single game stream. On ESPN, the list is fairly similar, but Andrew Nembhard's value rises on an ESPN points format. We've got Cole Anthony there, Keyshawn George, Muhammad Gay, Nick Smith, and then Davion Mitchell does get a little bit of a bump in a format like ESPN. You could easily stream him in Yahoo as well, but he's an option there. Now, I'd be a little cautious on Davion just because he's been sort of on and off the injury report with this, I think it's a quad issue. He's available on Friday, but it could crop up that it's on a back-to-back, that something flares up, that it's sore or whatever, and he doesn't play on Saturday. So just be aware of that. The other one you could look at, and this man is 100% washed, I would not want to bet on him. Apparently he wouldn't either. Terry Rozier, who played 40 minutes in the last game, we'll see, he was shocking in it. But there are minutes maybe with potentially Tyler out and Wiggins out and Ware out and maybe Mitchell out. A bunch of different stuff could happen. So Rozier is an option there as well. But bloody hell, I would never feel comfortable about streaming in Rozier given how terrible he's been literally all season. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on it than the FanDuel, unless, of course, you're just an aficionado for tip-offs. And maybe someone out there goes, the only part of basketball I like is tip-offs. And I guess for you, after the game tips off, well, you just got to tune back in at after halftime. But that's okay. Actually, not even halftime. They don't even have a tip-off. Why do they only have tip-offs at the start of the game? They should have one at halftime. Anyway, that's beside the point. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, and even if you miss opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, where you can stay involved in the action, and with your live bets, you can combine them to increase your payout into a same-game parlay. Plus, if you win, the payouts are basically instant. So easy to use the app. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just go to FanDuel.com to join today. That is FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, let's go into some category league streaming options now, and we are going to break them down by the individual categories now. We're not clumping at this stage in the week for Saturday, Sunday. So we'll start with points. And again, Nick Smith is there with my assumption that LaMelo Ball is out. Miles Bridges, is there any risk that he is out? A small risk. But Nick Smith is going to sit at the top of that list for me for points. Dylan Brooks is there. Zachary Ricochet is there. Moses Moody is there. And that could even rise further if Pajemski is out. That's working under the assumption that Kuminga is also out. And there's nothing to suggest he's back. Jacoby Walter and AJ Lawson. You go, who is that? Okay. I'm sure most of you actually would know because we're blessed with the double onyxes all over the place here. So Jacoby Walter's starting in place of Dick. He is the old... maybe he's the Johnny Furphy. Maybe he's the dildo, the Dick replacement. Jacoby Walter, because that's what he is. And he is Lonnie Walker, Gary Trent. He scores. Not much else. But that's okay, because we're looking for points. The other one is AJ Lawson, who's a quite athletic player who's had some really big numbers in the G League. He's about 26, 27 years old. But if Quickly is out and if Barnes is out, Lawson is going to have to play more. He's a two-way guy. I think he played for Dallas last season. Barely played. We haven't really seen much of him in the NBA at all. AJ, I'm just looking at his games played remaining. Well, he can actually play here, AJ Lawson, every game. He's only played 9 games. And I'm incorrect in this. Not incorrect because I know the rule, but I'm incorrectly explaining it. And it does confuse people because, again, that's my bad. I should communicate that better. Two-way contracts, it's not about playing games. It's about whether you are active for the game. It's about whether you are active for the game, not about whether you are playing the game. So people have questioned that on like Brandon Williams in Dallas, for example. They go, he's only played 20 games. It's true, but he was active for 40 of them. So if you're active and you sit on the bench and you get DMP CD'd, it counts to your two-way contract. It has to be if you officially get listed inactive before the game and you're in street clothes. Then it doesn't count. So AJ Lawson's he's only been active for 9 games. He's got 27 games. He was on Dallas earlier this season. They cut him. I think they cut him to sign Kyler Kelly, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, he can play every game remaining, AJ Lawson, for the Raptors. But that is a clarification that's important, especially around Brandon Williams, because you might think, Josh, you're wrong, and that's okay to think that. Or even Kai Jones, like you're wrong on that stuff. But when you look at the stats, it's not about games played, it's about games active. We have got the two-way tracker on each player profile on Basketball Monster, so you can check how many games they've got remaining. It's in the top left of the screen on the profile, and you can see that. Maybe I'll bring it up and show you. All right, so I'll show you what I mean. This is the Basketball Monster player profile page. Up on the top left, if you are watching here on YouTube, you can see all the different things, the advanced roster percentage, when the projection was updated, age, height, all that stuff. And then down here, you'll see the two-way contract games left, and it says 27 there, plus a positional estimate of what they played. And then we've got some shooting percentage ranges as well with the comments that we put out in the news. But more importantly, that if you are a member of Basketball Monster, you can go and see that two-way games left little section there that we have for all the two-way players, again, which is very, very useful, obviously, at this time of year. Let's take a look at 3-pointers in terms of streaming those in for the games on Saturday. Let's bring them up. You've got Nick Smith, Dylan Brooks, Duncan Robinson, George Niang. Now, you'll notice Robinson and Niang were not a part of the points streaming group. They can be streamed too. There's just a lot of different options for points to get you 12 to 13 to 18, that sort of a mark. There's quite a few. But these guys are going to elevate higher in the 3-point list. So Nick Smith, Dylan Brooks, Duncan Robinson, George Niang, Moses Moody, and then Big Boom AJ Green in Milwaukee. Although his minutes, they do fluctuate. That is how Doc Rivers runs it. For assists, this is, again, my projection is Quickly and Barnes could sit on Saturday. I don't know that. I'm trying to run by the Barrett Pirtle being out. It's weird to me that they would have Barnes and quickly out of the same game. Like, who the hell is the point guard? But maybe that's their opportunity to play Jamal Shed, who's been, I think, pretty impressive. He was not a guy that I loved as a draft prospect. He's a short, old, not shooting point guard, which is not my favorite flavor of draft prospect. But he's come in, he's been solid enough. He's been pretty good, actually, for where he was drafted. Defensively, he's not at the level that he was in college. He's still pretty good, but he's generating decent assist numbers, so I like it here. The guy that is literally like a Shed clone, or maybe reverse on that, Davion Mitchell. They're both teammates in Toronto. He's another assist stream guy here. With the caveat that I mentioned earlier, maybe with the quad issues he's dealing with, on a back-to-back, we worry a little bit. Andrew Nembhard, great assist guy. He would go to the top of this list if we knew that Halliburton was out. KJ Simpson, working under the assumption that LaMelo Ball is out. Trey Jones, now his value is going to very, very much depend on things because he could play 18 minutes. But if Lonzo is out, then he could play 32 minutes. Or, if Patrick Williams is in, maybe Williams starts and Trey comes off the bench. I don't know. The Bulls love running point guards, so that they could easily run three of them again with Jones, Giddey, White, like they did last game, and have Williams off the bench. But he's in the mix, and it could rise if Lonzo is out. And the other one there is Jose Alvarado. There is a chance that CJ McCollum sits in the game on whatever day it is, on Saturday instead of Sunday. But remember, they had not been starting Alvarado. They've started Bruce Brown in his place. But my prediction at the moment is Brown and Olynyk out on Saturday. But I've got no idea. Again, that could flip easy. The only thing we've got to go on is what they did last time. If we're looking at steal options, a lot of those names we mentioned are going to be in that similar spot there. Jose Alvarado is the elite steals guy. Andy Nembhard is pretty good at them. Keyshawn George is a good steals guy. Jacoby Walter might get you one or two. He's really there just through bulk of minutes. Marcus Smart doesn't get the bulk minutes, but he might be a 2 to 3 steal guy. And then KJ Simpson, much like Jacoby Walter, not really known for being huge steals guys, but if you play 30, 31, 32 minutes, and you are a guard who occasionally gets your hand on balls, giggity, maybe you can get a steal or two there, and that extra volume helps. The last sort of guard-specific or guard-dominant stat, I guess, is free throw percentage. Nick Smith, Jordan Hawkins, who could see 27 minutes a night across both games. Corey Kispert, who has been absolutely putrid, and it does feel to me in Washington at the moment that the Wizards and Brian Keefe have looking there and go, yeah, I don't know. This guy's not really a part of things, is he? Because we're seeing other guys bump up into extra minutes and Kispert sits at 22. So he hasn't got... Last season, he was able to elevate into a 30-plus minute role when they started to sit guys at the end of the season, which gave him a veneer of fantasy value. But I think this season, they've realized that he's not a part of that future. That could change. They could just decide his role is different, but he's been pushed back down. Duncan Robinson, Dylan Brooks, and Cole Anthony are another bunch of free throw percentage stream guys. Now let's look at some big men stats, and Day'Ron Sharpe has been really poor. I talked about this a little bit yesterday, sort of something clicked in my head in the middle of talking about the Nets, because they had been bad. They had a 3-game week this week, and Sharpe's been pretty poor. This is their final game for the week, but of course they've got the famed 5-game week next week. But like I mentioned, one of those games is on a 12-game Monday. And people will disagree with this. I know that because I tweeted it out earlier, and some people disagree with me, including the great Dan Besbris, who disagrees with my strategy on this. And that's okay. We can have different ideas on this. But here is my idea on this. A 5-game week is great. But would you start Day'Ron Sharpe on Monday? There's 12 games on. Would you start him? Have a look at your roster. If the answer is no, then it's a 4-game week. And that's the same for Zaire Williams and for Keon Johnson and for Trendon Watford and whatever. Now, I'm very certain that Cam Thomas will only play 3 out of 5 games this week. I'm pretty sure that D'Angelo Russell will only play 3 out of 5 games this week. It is distinctly possible that Nick Claxton plays 4 out of 5 or Cam Johnson plays 4 out of 5 this week, but I don't know about that. I don't know how they're going to roll. And what if they sit those guys on Monday? Okay, that changes things up a little bit as well. The way to look at this is I think that from Tuesday onwards, there are 3 teams that play 4 games. It's the Clippers, it's the Bucks, and the Nets. So the 5-game week from the Nets to me is more equivalent to the to the Clippers and the Bucks in terms of fantasy value. And could you find like a Derek Jones, Chris Dunn, Taurean Prince value options as stream guys that are maybe more valuable than Zaire or Keon? Maybe. Or using that roster spot to get 6 games in versus 4, that's going to be a tough one. The argument that others have made, and there's merit to this, is that on Monday, if you look at your roster with 12 games on, let's say you've only got 10 players who play. And if you added a Nets guy for a 5-game week, they wouldn't start for you, but they'd be your 11th best guy. That's valuable. That is useful because the odds of all 10 of your guys who are active for Monday actually playing are not all that high. So if someone sits, then your 11th guy becomes your 10th guy, and then you're fine. If, though, on that Monday where 12 games are on, you've got 12 guys playing, well, then adding a Nets guy would be your 13th guy, then the likelihood of him actually suiting up for you on Monday is very low. And then that 5-game week isn't important. So again, these are all individual scenarios. You look at if you've only got 10 on Monday, when theoretically if you added someone they wouldn't play, there is still a chance they would because of someone getting hurt out of that 10. So that is how I would view that week. Anyway, Day'Ron Sharpe, Saturday, good value. Carlo Makovic. Last time Kelly Olynyk sat with a rest, Makovic started. He played 30 minutes. He was great. I have no idea whether that will happen here. But I'm putting him there because my assumption is that Olynyk is out. Mohamed Gay could be a 6 or 7 rebound guy. He could also play 14 minutes. I don't think he pushes to 30, but maybe. But he's there. Orlando Robinson. Yes, Jakob Poeltl is likely back. But Mobo is out. Poeltl is not going to play 30 minutes, so you're going to get 22 to 23 out of Robinson, I'm guessing. That might be 6 or 7 boards. Isaiah Stewart is there, and Steven Adams is there. Now, Adams is always a tough one because who knows if he's going to play every night or any night. You go, is it Steven Adams? Not? I've got no idea. But he's a desperation option. What do you have, 6 assists last game and 7 rebounds? That's interesting for those leagues where it's incredibly deep and you're just struggling to find a center to fill that hole. For blocks, Makovic is there again. Understanding, again, my assumption is Olynyk is out on Saturday and Makovic starts, which might be a bold assumption, but it's literally what happened last time, so that's what I'm going to go with. Isaiah Stewart, Goga Badadze, you can throw Day'Ron Sharpe, well, he's down the bottom there. Keyshawn George, and the Night Watchman, Mohamed Gay, is there also. The last category we look at is field goal percentage. A lot of repeats here. Day'Ron Sharpe, Luke Cornett, whose minutes should be lower, but they'll be higher if Porzingis is out. TJ McConnell and Gary Payton, they're the rare guards that help you in the field goal percentage. Obert Toppin is there, and Goga Badadze. Last thing I want to look at is the stream plan. Now, yesterday, the whole idea of me testing this stream plan theory out is to get more usable real-life data to determine the value of a streaming slot versus holding on to a fringe player. So one of the ways that we looked at with a one-slot stream at the start of the week was we could either attack the Wednesday-Thursday back-to-back of Celtics, or we could attack the Thursday-Friday back-to-back of the Knicks. And my thought was, I think you get a little bit more value of the Celtics because you're going to have a bunch of guys resting, and I think I've got more options to choose from on the Wednesday-Thursday than I do on the Thursday-Friday. Because on the Thursday-Friday, there'll literally be one option only, and that is Deuce McBride. Yep, so that name, Deuce McBride. So my original plan on the stream was we'll do Luke Cornett and Sam Hauser as my 2 little options to test for the one-slot stream for the Wednesday-Thursday back-to-back. But then, of course, Hauser was ruled out for the second game. Now, if I'm looking at that as the best way that you would, as a person who is completely on top of what is going on, and when you see Sam Hauser out, what you would do in that situation, because the way that stream schedule played out is that you would have done Wednesday-Thursday back-to-back, Friday-Saturday back-to-back, and then a single stream on Sunday. So, once you knew that Hauser was out for Thursday, you pivot, and then you turn it into a Thursday-Friday back-to-back stream, and then into a Saturday-Sunday back-to-back stream, which meant for Thursday-Friday, Deuce McBride was the ad, replacing that Sam Hauser back-to-back that didn't work because he got hurt. And in the end, while you say, well, that maybe cost you an ad by trying the Hauser back-to-back, it's recoverable because of the way that the schedule played out. You only had a single game stream on Sunday anyway, but now you eliminate that and just do Thursday, Friday, Saturday with your 2 remaining streams. Now, McBride was not very good on Thursday, obviously. And I've added those McBride stats to that Hauser stream plan stat line. Coincidentally, luckily, fortunately, in terms of the value of that stream, well, Jalen Brunson's not going to play on Friday, is he? And Deuce McBride might play 40 minutes. So that's going to bump the value there. But if you look at that realistically, the move you would make once Hauser was ruled out for Thursday, the only guy that had any availability who was going to play, because we knew that Precious Achiuwa was out and wasn't going to play if Robinson was healthy anyway, it was McBride. And it fortuitously turned into a big opportunity on Friday. Yes. Now, One of the other streams we looked at was a 2-slot stream and a variation of a 2-slot stream. If you had a Wizards player on your roster already, you would hold them for Monday and then you could move on. And that's the situation that we're looking at here. Because if you had that situation, or that situation that I just mentioned about the Hauser pivot into the McBride Thursday, Friday, now we're looking for a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back stream. The guy I'm going to put in terms of my testing on this stream plan is going to be Carlo Makovic for the single slot stream and for the double slot stream. Makovic is going to be the guy that steps into that role that I need. But there are 2 other guys that are worth considering there. It's Jordan Hawkins and Jose Alvarado. They're the 3, I think, best back-to-back weekend streams. But the one I'm going to test on my strategy is going to be Makovic, unless I hear before Saturday's game that he is ruled out. But I don't know that. So at this point, Makovic is the guy that I'm putting into that streaming plan. And I hope that all of that makes sense, as I realize I just didn't put the names up on the screen. But now you can see them. So Makovic is the guy that I'm going to put into that stream plan, but Alvarado and Hawkins are widely available. Don't look to Bruce Brown. Don't look to Kelly Olynyk. Yves Missi, if he's available, he's in that mix as well, but he's sort of borderline whether he's going to be available or not. But he's in that mix too. So you've got 4 solid options, Makovic, Hawkins, Alvarado, and maybe Missi, just because of availability, that I think are going to be worth you looking at and worth considering for that Saturday, Sunday stream ahead of Taurean Prince, AJ Green. Pistons like his Tim Hardaway, not really. Isaiah Stewart, maybe across the weekend. There might be something there for those guys in that spot. And that is the end of this spot. It is National Oregon Day. I didn't even mention that earlier on. So shout out to any of you who are in Oregon. Where in Oregon? Wherever. Corvallis, Eugene, Portland. The only 3 cities I know in Oregon. The only other thing I know about Oregon, A, very wet. And B, do you guys still have that you can't pump your own gas rule? Shout out to gas pumping, I guess. You guys would never experience it. Hit the thumb, drop your comment, leave it all down below, guys. We are done here. I'm off to a baseball championship game today. Big League championship game, grand final. Hopefully the boys get the win. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Hey, let's get a good luck boys in the chat. See ya.